Welcome to the Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce Let's Talk Business podcast. Today our guest is Helen Callier with Brad Link and the Advisory Board Chair for Tri-County Regional Black Chamber. So welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing good. Today's Friday.
Rocking and rolling.
We had to make a move. So first we want to go ahead and thank our sponsors. Southwest Airlines is a proud air travel sponsor of Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. We also like to thank Primacor Business Solutions. So we want to remind everybody that we can be found every Friday at 10:30 a.m. here at gmtradio.com. You can any replays you might want to see. You go ahead and check out tcbcc.org and look for podcasts, and you'll be able to review those podcasts that previously recorded. So let's get started. So Miss Helen, I've met you a few times.
Tad bit. What's going on?
I know. I'm like, well, this is exciting. I get to hang out with you for a little bit today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about Brad Link?
Brad Link is a technical services firm that primarily plays in the government space, which means that we do work here locally for the Houston airport system, all 3 airports for years, providing program management, construction oversight, and design-related services. So that's a niche space for us on the aviation side. We also do work at DFW and in Dallas at some of the entities, and then we've done proudly a lot of work for Metro over the years as well. So we're pretty excited about being in business 16 years now.
Wow.
Award-winning SBA, MBDA, and of course a fine award recipient of Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce.
I know, it's right. That's great, man. You are like all over the place, and I noticed that there are a lot of bids and solicitations for all of the airports because they go ahead and make some of those changes. So I think that's awesome. I mean, that's pretty cool. So how will we, what would you tell a business owner that, from your journey? What would you tell them? What suggestions or encouragement would you provide to someone who may be looking to do something similar to what you're doing today?
They have to be very clear on what their vision is and what they want to become.
Really? So it's definitely focus. I think we've been talking, so over time we talk about focus, but a lot of people I notice, they just say, I want to just be able to make my own money, and they don't have as that laser focus needed.
Sure. Where focus, occurs when you have a vision and a picture, right?
Right.
and so your business is your vehicle to create the kind of lifestyle that you want to have. Right? And so be it if you say, hey, I want to have a lifestyle where I can have, a house here in Houston, a ranch somewhere in the hill country, that's fine. How much money are you going to need to generate from your business to fuel your lifestyle? If you also say that I'd like to be able to buy backpacks for all the kids in 77002, right? Who's without a backpack, or I want to be able to feed all the turtles that crawl up on the shore somewhere. That's great to have those aspirations. How are you going to pay for that and fund it? So again, your business is a vehicle to create the kind of lifestyle that you want to have and support whatever aspirations, programs and things tied to that. And so then you'll say, great, here's the type of business that I'm going to need, right? And so it says that, great, here's what I want for my lifestyle to have. Here's the type of, for lack of a better word, charities or initiatives that I like to be able to give back and do. And that's, say, on your far right-hand side. And it says that in order to do that, I need to have a $5 million revenue business because it will yield me X, Y, Z, right? And so for that type of business, then you want to say, who's going to be my ideal clients, right?
Right.
And then back into and get into your pricing model and so forth and so on. But what's going to be very clear is that once you have your vision for how your business is going to be satisfying your lifestyle and so forth, then it's going to help you to structure your business model, right? From a marketing standpoint, a sales, HR, staffing, the talent and the resources you're going to need. That's all a part of your picture.
Right. So, I really like the fact that you mentioned that as we're building our focus, as we're building out what we want our business to look like, that we actually have a section to set aside or for what we want to pay back into the community and contribute to other nonprofits or things like that that's going to support us in our business adventures. So I really like that. I never thought about that, but I always know in my head, like I've even written it down too, but it never was part of my business canvas that said, okay, I want to make sure that I give back. And in order for me to give back and provide to that, you actually have to build it into the structure of your business.
You absolutely have to build it into the structure of the business. And so as you're building that business model, right, that's going to satisfy your picture, you're then going to have a vision for your business, a mission vision, and then what are your principles, right? And so for business owners, the principles 9 out of 10 times for your business is going to be the principles that you have as an individual, right? Yes. And so if speed is important in delivering services for your business, then that will become one of your values for your company is that you're not going to be flat-footed and hey, I'll get to it when I get to it. Right. You're going to bake it into your culture. Why? Because your ideal clients expect that. Right. Your ideal customers expect that. And we see that in this model over the past 90 days. It's been, I want to be getting it now type of deal. So when you have your business model structured, you then want to then proceed in drafting your financials. Go ahead and do a profit and loss statement or an income statement. Okay. Based on the revenue that you want to be receiving, and then drop down what your expenses are, salary, so forth and so on, cost of goods sold, of course, above the line, and then when you get down to the bottom, what's going to be that takeaway, right? What's going to be that net profit that you want to have, because that starts to then feed into your own.
That's good.
You can reinvest it, or it goes into you, right? But one of the misses that many small businesses make is that they then say, out of that net profit, I'm then going to figure out how much money and then I'm going to give myself. Right. What I suggest is that you make your profit a line item up top. It becomes an expense.
Oh, really?
You bake it in.
No, you bake it in. So you make sure that no matter what happens, this is part of paying yourself first.
It's paying yourself first.
There you go.
And you put it first.
I did not you know what? I would have never, had I not had this conversation with you today, I would not have thought to do that to begin with, because everybody always says, and there's one young lady, I met her about a year ago, I want to say, and what she says is that everybody thinks that I'm just rolling in money, but what is happening is that I pay everything out first and then pay all my employees, and if there's anything left over, I get. So ultimately, a lot of entrepreneurs are actually working for free for year after year, myself included, because we're saying that, okay, well, we got to make sure everything else is good, and then eventually we'll build up enough to pay us. But if you're saying, your suggestion you're making is to bake it into our current pricing structure in order to make sure that we're paid first, because we're doing so much of the heavy lifting, and at some point in time we're going to burn out.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a part of your expenses, right? When you're looking at your income statement, and it's there. Be it if it's 10%, 5%, whatever you want to do, it is in there. Right. And so, because by the time you get to the bottom, you may say that, hey, it's only a few pennies, or in fact, it's lint. Right? Yeah. L-I-N-T.
Yes. Right.
And so you have nothing.
Sorry.
And then you're saying, I am working for free. In fact, I'm making sure that my employees are taken care of, which is the right thing to do. But at some point,
yes. Because there's a burnout that exists when you're not getting paid. And although it's your passion project, you don't go into a business to make sure everybody else is paid and then you don't get paid anything. And so that's 25 years into the business.
Again,
you can't do that.
Your business is your vehicle to create the kind of lifestyle, including wealth for you and your family, as well as building wealth and a legacy to leave if you have kids.
Right. So that's cool. I like that.
Right. But you have to design that. And what I suggest to the listeners is that you design that when after you have your big picture to say, what do I want my lifestyle to be? I want to feed penguins or whatever it is.
Feed penguins.
And then to say, what's my business model, and then do my projections here. Right? Because if it doesn't make sense on paper, it's not going to make sense when you're out and about attempting to do some things, right? So make money on paper first, because that then becomes your what you're going to be focusing on, and then you'll take that and then you'll do a reverse model, right? To say, great, here's where I am at the end of the year. Where am I and say, I don't know, at the end of third quarter? Where am I at the end of second quarter? So forth and so on.
Right. So you want to keep track of all of that and make sure that
right.
I like that. Did you use a lean business canvas in order to build your business out? Have you even heard of that one?
I am familiar with the business canvas model. I think it's a great tool, a one pager, and it's a very powerful tool, and I do suggest for many businesses to use that. I can say that I had Band-Aids on my knees and twisted ankles before that I saw that kind of tool.
Yeah, I've used it before, and I actually just encouraged someone else to use it. And when I did it, they were looking at it, and I guess it's the fill-in one.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to fill it in. I was like, no, just print it out and use stickies, because that's when I was taught how to use it. You just take it apart and you just use stickies, because what you'll find is as we're going through that, we end up making the changes and we take some of the stickies off and we add some additional ones, and it kind of adds more, and it gives you a better picture of what you're moving forward.
Yeah, I would suggest with that kind of tool, and that's a right on statement. That's with that kind of tool, as well as when you're doing your financial projections, your budgets, P&Ls, your balance sheet, is that you do it by hand.
Right. Yes.
Literally pen, paper, calculator. Why? Because you feel it.
Yes.
Right? Because when you write things by hand, you see it through your eyes, you hear it because you're speaking to yourself internally, and then you're physically feeling it as well. And so you know your numbers. In this case, when you're writing it down on the business canvas, tool, then the same aspect is that it's becoming real to you and it's crystallizing.
Right.
When you're typing on the computer,
you're distancing yourself from the product, distancing yourself from what you're trying to write. Mm-hmm. But I do know, there studies have been said that when pen to paper mm-hmm. actually has a lasting mm-hmm. impression more on your mind. So I think that's really good. So that's good. People can go and do that. So I know part of our discussion is about the public and the private markets. So what history or what information can you provide with us? You work in both private and public. Mm-hmm. So which one do you like better? Or is there a better?
It's not. It again depends on your business model.
Right.
Right. Because when you look on the public side for doing work for government agencies, be it if it's city, county, state, or federal, mm-hmm. right? And so when you're doing work for those folks, it places you in a position to build a book of business.
Okay.
Right? Because you can then say that these agencies typically pay a net 30, maybe net 45. It could be longer in some situations, but for the most part, say net 30, net 45, your money is coming on through. And so if you're on a long-term project, mm-hmm. say with the city of Houston or Metro, long-term being if it's a 2-year project, 3-year project, and you have steady money that's coming in.
Right.
That gives you a book of business.
Right.
And then that cash flow is coming on in, and what it does is it takes care of your base for your business.
Yeah, your monthly reoccurring revenue.
Your monthly reoccurring revenue is huge, but it also takes care of those monthly expenses.
Correct.
And so once you have the book of business in place and that stability, you literally then can then start to take some risk, and then start pushing with the private stuff on top.
Okay.
All right, and then the private work could be more transactional, is what I call it, because that could be you may be getting cash on the spot, or it could be net 10, net 15, or it could be net 30, depending on the contract relationship type of situation. So again, it goes back to your business model. Who are my ideal customers?
Right.
Right. And so once you know who your ideal customers are, then where do I need to find them? Now, it is a true statement that and it's been clearly evident over the past 60, 90 days. Big Fortune 500, 100s, 1,000 companies, they all have a book of business on the government side.
Yes.
Fact.
Yes, absolutely.
Fact. And for a reason.
Yes.
Because they know that cash is going to continue to come on through.
It's guaranteed money, right? And that's one of the things. So that's what. So even in the radio show, when I had I have that conversation, and I'm like, a lot of people talk about the fact that they do not want to become certified. So I have one gentleman who tells me repeatedly, and actually it discouraged me from becoming certified. And he said, and he was like, by doing that, you're putting yourself in a box. And so therefore, if you put in a box, he says, I don't want $5 million, I want the $50 million contract. But that's not to say we won't get the contract, but at least if we're being seen, we have a better opportunity of getting that $50 million contract. But first we gotta be seen. And that's what people don't understand. So when you go in and you do that business, you get certified and you get exposed to the opportunity. Then people get to see that, and now we're on the books with the government to continue year after year to continue to do business with them, even in that space as a certified person. But now you have a book of business. Then now when we go into the private sector, where it's easier for us to go ahead and bridge that gap or be seen where we weren't being seen before.
And so being certified, and say as a minority-owned business enterprise, or women-owned business enterprise, or disadvantaged service veteran-owned small business. So it's a lot of different certifications that can be pursued. Of course, the state of Texas historically underutilized business certification. Please note that with those agencies, you do not have to be certified to do business with those agencies.
Yes.
At all.
That is correct.
At all. And so having those certifications is a marketing tool.
Yes.
And again, it takes you back to that business model. What's going to be your marketing approach in order to generate business? And so that's going to differ for folks, and that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. But I would submit to you is that having that certification is a benefit that you could be able to utilize as need be, right? And you're right, it does push information to you about project opportunities and just a whole host of resources that you can take advantage of for free, right? Because of that certification, which is huge. And so with that, you can leverage the certification to get your foot in the door. Are you going to be wearing on your T-shirt that you're a minority business enterprise, certified for? You're not, because
you're not.
It's business 101, right? Which means that there's a need, and from the government agency standpoint, that need it goes out into the marketplace as a solicitation. It could be request for proposal, could be request for bid, it could be request for qualifications. Just a whole host of different acronyms that it could be from that, and then you can go after that as need be. So I don't wear the certification on my shoulder or my hat or my forehead, but if it's an opportunity at a government agency that I know that we're strong and positioned for and can play, and if it appears as though we may not be successful in getting on a team, if it appears, then I take a little trick from my cats, because it's difficult to throw a cat out of a room.
Right. Very much so.
All legs are going out, stretched out. Their claws are going to be, it's like, we're not going, right? And then they're basically say, hey, I am certified as a small business, disadvantaged business enterprise, whatever it may be, as that means of sweetening the
making sure that you stay at the table.
Yes.
Because the thing about it is, we can all, I love that. I'm glad you said that, because even though we're certified, that's not the foot that we have to put forward first. We can actually go and see if they're willing to let us be at the table. And if they're not willing, then we can say, hey, by the way.
Right. But you're providing value, right? And certification is one aspect, but you're providing value. It says that you understand the need that agency has, which they pushed out in the solicitation. You've already done your homework ahead of time. You may have some established relationships. So when you're approaching XYZ that may be going after the opportunity as a prime, you're saying, hey, we've done 10 projects like this for XYZ agency. We have the experience. In fact, we've been already in communications with somebody here. Here's the value that we bring to the table. Lower costs. We're familiar with the software. We know the people, and so that's a value proposition from that perspective.
Well, that's pretty cool. I really like that. I'm telling you, I've met you a couple of times. I've been impressed by how you have navigated the waters, because this is not government contracts and permits and things like that. It's not. It's not for the faint of heart, I don't think, because there's a lot of T's and you have to cross and I's you have to dot.
Well, being in business, period, is not for the faint of heart.
I know, right? It just.
Period. And I don't care if you're selling snow cones on the corner. It's not it's not for the faint of heart. And we've seen that over the past 60 or 90 days, where folks have basically tossed the towels in, right?
Some people they just couldn't do it, and I think a lot of it is because of what we talked about early on, which is their cost wasn't baked in. So I think some of us early on we're not given, or we don't have enough information to prepare for something so like out of the norm as a pandemic, and then anything else.
And I would submit to you that that there was a missing Y, a WHY.
Okay.
Right? So, and a big Y, right? Because your big Y keeps you in the ball game.
Correct.
It keeps you in the ball game.
I know it keeps waking me up every morning, because I'm like, okay.
You can have, and there's been numerous examples of that over the past, several weeks, that, folks would say, hey, overnight, businesses were shut down, all their customers were no longer, say, in their restaurant or in their facility. However, those customers didn't go anywhere. They're still customers.
Right.
How are you going to serve them?
Mm-hmm.
They still have a need.
They had to figure it out.
How are you going to serve them?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And your Y, your WHY, capital W, capital H, capital Y, gets you thinking.
Right.
Right? Because your vision and picture is still out here.
Right.
And what's the why to be pulling you still towards that?
Okay, so what is your why? What was your why that kept going, over these last 16 years?
First of all, I was reared in a small business, and I come from a family of entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So it's in my DNA.
So no matter what, this was. So I started on doing this, and so this is what I'm meant to do.
It's in my DNA. It's in my DNA, and so for me, it's just the love of being in business. I can smell the marketplace like I'm on the floor of the Wall Street. I can smell the marketplace, and that's just a high for me, and that's just an enjoyment for me. But a part of the why is that with the talents that I have, the blessings that we've gained through having a successful business and businesses, then I know that I'm a key part of the maybe solution, for lack of a better word, for generating more jobs,
mm-hmm.
right? For making contributions to feed, whomever, and those kinds of things. So your why may change,
Okay.
over a period of time.
Right, I get it. My why is the safety of a child. So at the end of the day, so somebody asked me actually yesterday, what makes you get up in the morning? And I was like, every day, if my product and what I do actually can save a life of a child and save somebody from being terminated for a mistake because they weren't supported enough, that is why I get up. And so if the opportunity is for me to go out and help one person, and if I help one person in that day, I'm okay. And that's what makes me keep going. And even my mom says, you don't know how to give up. And I was like, I'm gonna try harder next time. But it never works. I still keep popping up like,
Mm-hmm.
like that crazy crank thing that we used to do.
Mm-hmm.
So Jack in a Box. But, it's one of those things we gotta figure it out. And some people, I'm very excited that you were able to be groomed enough to have entrepreneurs as teachers and mentors in your family. A lot of other people don't have that. So they really do need to kind of dig into why they're doing it and what makes what gets them excited enough to go out there and face something that looks almost impossible.
Mm-hmm. We're really blessed and fortunate, and folks can send me text messages, send you emails, or send me letters. I don't care, but I think we have an environment that is just full of abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's full of abundance and full of opportunities. In the Houston area and in Texas, and clearly I think in the United States as well. And the question is, do you see it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you see it? Right? And because I see green shoots I see, you know, money that's circulating all around us, and
Right.
so that makes a huge difference because as an analogy, one of the stories that I share when I'm out speaking sometimes to different audiences, small business audiences, is a story about Charlie Brown.
Okay.
And
I'm ready.
so Charlie Brown was born in slavery, and he probably was maybe two or three legislatures ago, he was recognized in the state capitol as being a very successful businessman. You know, was one of the largest employers in the Lake Jackson, Texas area.
Okay.
And so Charlie Brown was born in slavery,
Okay.
Lake Jackson area. Don't know if you're from Texas or not, but Lake Jackson area, and I don't know what it was called at the time. And so he was fortunate to be in an environment where he could outsource his services after he did 10, 12, 14, who knows how many hours during the regular day working, where he can then go and work elsewhere and make some money.
Mm-hmm.
Where he eventually was able to buy himself out of slavery.
Okay. Yes.
Out of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Out of slavery.
Yep.
And then he continued to work where he bought swampland in the area,
Mm-hmm.
Lake Jackson, swampland. And so, as you can imagine, buying swampland, what were people doing? Ha ha ha! Ah, what a crazy man!
Okay.
Well, Charlie Brown, man, he just wasted his time, wasted his money, all of that stuff. Just laughing at him. But what did Charlie Brown know that others did not know? What Charlie Brown knew is that the trees that were in the swamps were some of the finest wood that he would then cut down and sell it, going into the furniture capital of the world at the time, and becoming the furniture capital of the world, going into the Carolinas, which is now known as High Point and some of the other areas in the North Carolinas. Some of the finest wood.
Really?
So he's cutting down trees, making wood and all that kind of stuff and shipping it on out. But eventually, as the story evolves, and he eventually buys his wife, gets his wife out of slavery and so forth. But with that, he becomes one of the largest employers, blacks and white folks, in the area. So we're talking about slavery. We're talking about Jim and Jane Crow. And becomes one of the largest employers in the area.
See, he's seen what other people didn't see. So his
That's
why
right.
was bigger than what everybody else was saying.
And I will submit to you that his why, WHY, is probably much bigger than what we're even talking about right now.
Right.
And it is.
It is, absolutely. Now, hands down, I know that for sure. Because even when so that's what the book is. So the Black Business book.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been reading out of this book.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been discussing it with our listeners in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that you mentioned Charlie Brown, right? Mm-hmm. Because I was reading in this book earlier this week
Mm-hmm.
about this same thing, how so we can overcome a whole lot in 2020. Because in 1863 and 1965, it was horrendous to try to overcome the foolishness of what's going on then, right? So right now, we're going to be able to get through this. We just have to be smart and strategic about doing it. But so I look at it as if they can learn a skill enslaved, and with being considered less than human.
Well, we were all the skills.
Right.
Right.
And that's what it was.
I mean, we built roads.
Right.
We were the engineers. We were the architects.
Exactly.
We were the furniture makers. So we were the
skill,
That's
right?
correct.
But at the same time, we couldn't go out and act on our own. So we had to figure out how to get past it,
Mm-hmm.
or how to work within the square that they put us in.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to make enough money on their own, make enough money for their master to be okay, and then make enough money for them to build so they can buy themselves out of slavery, and then create that money, that stream of revenue for themselves. And because they seen where it was possible for their life to be a little bit different than what was being provided to them at that time. And so that's why I'm looking at that, and I'm like, I'm excited about this story you just told, because it is actually still in line with being able to lean back and look at other people who have come before us, and know and understand that if they made it to point, if they made it to Z, what did they have to do? How many what steps in the alphabet did they have to take in order to make it to their ultimate goal? Did he think and believe that he was going to be the largest employer between whites and blacks in the area?
I'm sure what he was thinking. Well, I'm not sure, but I would imagine what he was thinking is that he's got to make a way for his family.
Right.
He's got to make a way for it, and you keep working, and you don't realize how much you've amassed, because that's not his focus, is how much he's amassed,
right?
Money-wise. But I got to make a way for my family, and that's just not the immediate family. That's generational. That's generational wealth. That's generational wealth. So Charlie Brown. Again, was recognized probably maybe 3 legislatures or so ago, could be 4, in the state capitol, and which is just huge in its own right. And I know there was recent stories about Madam C.J. Walker, which I love, but and everybody knows that from a marketing aspect, just a genius. Just a genius in that regard to the marketing aspect, because when you can have the country and the world think that you were the first self-made millionaire, woman millionaire, in this, that's huge.
Yes.
But she was not.
She was not. She was not.
She was not. I mean, there were others, before her, but that's huge from a marketing aspect, and that you got to say right on, and of course. And I love the stories with Madam C.J. Walker is that as she often wanted to talk at Booker T. Washington's and Tuskegee's annual conventions, which is typically with the farmers at Tuskegee. For forever, Booker T. Washington said, no, because why? Because this is not a place for you to be talking about hair, right? No. But as Booker T. Washington, was of age, and then he finally, I guess, gave in and allowed her to speak, like on the opening day of the conference. Which when you go to most conferences and big conventions, that's when you're coming on in, you're checking in. So who's going to be there?
Yeah.
Really nobody. But she opens up the from the conference, as the story goes, and I'm hoping this is true, but as the story goes, is that she tells the farmers there, tells the black farmers that, what I do is that wherever she goes into a city is that she buys land. She buys land.
Okay.
So she was not so she was not talking about what I do for my hair. I buy land. And so because she grew up, in a sharecropping scenario, right?
Okay.
So we could be talking the rest of the weekend on sharecropping and from that aspect. But to be able to say that what I do is I buy land, because she's sending a direct message to those black farmers. If you don't own your land, then you're sharecropping, or you're not in a position to build wealth.
Right.
You're not.
Yeah, because I know, and that's a lot of other businesses they do. So their business, a lot of people believe, okay, well, they're just a restaurant, or they're just this or that. But ultimately, most of them are dealing with real estate. So if you have the land can be turned into anything and everything you want it to be. But if you only buy the building can be torn down, and the person who owns the land will rebuild.
Sure.
So and I think that's the message that's being conveyed today. And even with her story, was that if she's buying land, then she's controlling her own wealth. You're
controlling your own wealth, and what a powerful vision. There was one story where she was where her assistant was about to enter her office, and her office had a big window that overlooked her factory floor,
Okay.
right? I think it was Pittsburgh somewhere.
Woohoo!
And
Pittsburgh.
so, and
No, I'm
so,
sorry.
as her assistant, starts to enter the room, she then steps out of the office because Madam C.J. Walker had such a gaze, right? And she knew that whenever Madam C.J. Walker was in that type of mode or mindset, that was not a time to be, that was her private time. That was not a time to be interrupting at all, because and then how the story unfolds is that Madam C.J. Walker was already looking years down the road, right? Because she was witnessing the encroachment of products going into the general stores, right? That were being produced by, I don't know who.
Whoever was there.
Whoever it was, right?
Right.
I mean, so some of the big companies, encroaching to take advantage of the marketplace, and then with the belief that, products that were really geared for white folks, but then, hey, if we put a little brown in there, it could be okay for black folks. So Madam C.J. Walker's, focus was truly seeing women come off the farmland, right, and the way that their hair was, is that creating a health scenario, right? It was all about health and wellness, in my opinion.
So that's good. So those two stories that you told, I've been listening to those. I like those, and I've been, again, reading that book. The book is still available through Tri-County Regional Black Chamber. If they go to the events, the book is still available for $10. They can go and take a look, because there's a lot of facts in there that I was unaware of until I started reading the book. But I like to draw from the experiences of those who came before me. So can you share with me some of the things that you may have learned from those two scenarios on how it's been able to help you in your business journey?
Well, I mean, the story with Charlie Brown, I learned, much later down the road, right? I just learned about that some years ago when he was being recognized through the state legislature, and I believe it was State Rep Ron Reynolds who might have brought it to the floor for that recognition. And so that basically says, if for both of them, if they could do it,
yes.
If they could do it, then I can too.
Right.
That's the key takeaway for me. And then from a Madam C.J. Walker, in addition to that, is the from a marketing aspect, it was just in an advertising, because the branding that she had at that time was just right on. I mean, as folks would go into the store, if they did not see her, soliloquy, they did not see her shadow, whatever it is, her mark on that jar, then it's like, it's not Madam C.J. Walker's.
Right.
I'm not grabbing it. And so that's huge. I mean, that's huge. So I look at it from that standpoint, but right on for focusing on the big why, for both of those.
So that's really good. So I learned from her. So I watched the Netflix program for about her story, and what I noticed is that when it came to her relationship, she wanted to work with that young lady, right?
And I would suggest to you that there was a lot of holes in that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
significant.
But proceed on.
Yeah, but I mean, just by the story, because a lot of people are going to lean on these stories that are being told. So what I'm saying is that even though there are a lot of holes in most of the stories that are being told about African American trailblazers, in that specific story, the way she wanted to work with that young lady. So the one who helped her with her hair. So at the very beginning, apparently the lady
with Annie,
I can't remember her name right now. It's been a little while since I watched it, but her hair was falling out and different things were going on, and so the young lady who helped her do her hair products, or helped her regrow her hair back, when she turned to her and tried to help, she was like, I want to work with you and things like that. The lady laughed at her. And see, and I think a lot of that, so even though the story may be full of holes, there is there's things about the story that resonates with today. Whereas when you try to say, I really like your product and I want to be a part of your journey, and people will laugh at you and say, no, I don't want that, I'm not interested in that, and laugh and say, well, you're the wrong shade, you're the wrong height, you're the wrong gender, any reason. But at the end of the day, she said, oh, okay, so you don't want to work with me, but I'm still going to do it. And so even though she didn't get her first wish, her first one thing where she wanted to be able to work with a specific person, she was still able to move forward and go and use her why and just continue to proceed through trying to making sure that what she wanted to do was accomplished regardless of what people were putting in her way.
Sure.
And that's something that I think for me, I draw strength from there because at the end of the day, I just want to be able to reach my goals. And even though there are a lot of people around me that say, no, that's not good, no, you need to change the name of your company, no, you need to XYZ, whatever that's going to be. At the end of the day, I see something that they don't see because it wasn't given to them, it was given to me. And she said she did the same thing. And I think that that's really powerful to know that she was attempting to build relationships. She was attempting to make, she was marketing herself out there. She was doing what she needed to do, but yet she was still met with so much opposition, but she still overcame that.
Yeah, I did not see the Netflix movie, so I just want to put that disclaimer out there. But I do know and think that it, it's from what you're sharing is different from the books that I've read.
Right, and I know that to be true.
So all good. What other questions do you have? What other questions do you have?
Building relationships.
Sure.
That's why I bring that up. So building relationships. Sometimes some of the relationships that we attempt to try to build are not. We don't always get there, and people kind of shun us off. I have a friend that says, I went to go to different people. I wanted to talk to them and just kind of brainstorm and just engage in a conversation with them because I felt like that's a relationship I wanted to have. But then they shunned him and decided they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to have that type of engagement with him. And then as he started to have momentum in his company, those people that he sought out first now are coming back. And he says, I don't know how to necessarily feel about that because I wanted them early on because I felt like they could add value, but they didn't want me until now. And I just tell them that timing is everything. But building relationships is more than just getting all the people you want in your circle. Building relationships is more than that. So what do you feel about that?
I would for your associate there, just always make sure his back is straight because he's building something. And so I'm not one for and it's a victim mindset, right? It's a woe is me mindset, and you don't go forward with that type of mindset. So again, it goes back to your picture, right? Your picture. And then in this picture, then a part of one of the tools would be, and I think it's on the canvas, but part of one of the tools is that for your ideal customer, right, is that who do I know that touches my ideal customer, and that starts to identify organizations, persons, other businesses, so forth and so on that it behoove you to have relationships with.
Right. Okay.
To build relationships with.
Build relationships.
Right. So that's a strategic approach. A strategic approach there.
I like the list thing. You build a list of all the people you would like to work with, and then just start to kind of, because there are going to be two ideal customers and then ideal people.
And let me specify what I mean by ideal customers. So again, you have what your picture is, what you want to have for your lifestyle, and so you say, well, the best business model that I need to put in place is I want to be paid. Your ideal customer or your avatar is that I want folks who pay me net 30. I want folks who are from I don't know 10 million to 100 million in revenue. I want folks who I can get repeat business from, right? Who provide me for whatever those 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 characteristics that make up your ideal customers, then that's what you identify. What are those characteristics? Because when you have those characteristics, then it says that then that satisfies my business model. As an example, if you know that your ideal customer is somebody who goes to a 5-star restaurant,
right?
That's your ideal customer. But you find yourself at a place where you can eat the salad all day long.
Okay. All you can eat buffet.
Or you can eat buffet. That's what they call it. See, so I don't even go out of that. So you can eat or you can eat buffet all day long.
Right.
And so if you find yourself or one of your employees there eating buffet all day long, it's like, hey, I'm networking and so forth. It's like, well, what are you doing here?
Right.
Our ideal customers are here at this 5-star restaurant.
Right. I got you. So that's really good. I'm glad you said that because now I can go back. I've written out my avatars and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a couple of steps I probably did not do, and I think a lot of other people may not have even encouraged that. And so to hear you say to just find out, how much revenue do they have reoccurring? What type of net terms do they have? Because there's one company that I will not say the name to, but their net terms is 180 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know, you trying to kill somebody's business this way. So is that a company that I will want to do business with? No, because 6 months. That's 6 months.
That's exactly right. Many small businesses will just like anybody who comes to the door is a customer.
Right.
And so when you're speaking with someone and you ask them, hey, what do you do? XYZ product or service, great. Well, who's your customer? Everybody's my customer. Everybody needs air. Well, or everybody, and you even hear that. But even if you look at folks who are in the the mortuary type business, is that if you're not buying a casket that is $50,000 or above,
right? Yeah. Oh my gosh! Don't even get me started on that.
They don't touch everybody.
Right.
And so different types of examples in that regards.
Well, that's good. That's good information. All right, so it looks like we've come to the end of our show.
Yeah.
So I want everybody to know who you are and where to find you.
Sure. So Helen Callier, president of Brad Link LLC. You can find us online at bradlinkllc.com. That's B as in boy, RADLINKLLC.com, and you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Very excited about that, and I do want to leave everybody with is that there is money on the ground right now, and there's opportunities that's circling you. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Right, and the moment that you start to speak the word, I can't, or there's no business out there, or anything in that vein, then it's running away from you.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And I'm gonna parlay off of that. I used to teach my children all the time as they're growing up because they would walk up to me and they'd be like, I can't. And I say, can't is a stopper. Remove that from your vocabulary because it's the moment you say I can't, it is definitely drilled down, and it's a line that's hard to get up.
It's a line that's hard to get up, and another cousin to the word can't is the word try.
Yeah, try. Just go out and do. It works out. When it's your time, it's going to be your time.
Yeah.
So again, we're going to go ahead and thank our sponsor. Southwest Airlines is a proud air travel sponsor of Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. And we also like to thank Permacore Business Solutions. Remember that we're on the radio Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Let's Talk Business radio show where we get to discuss all kinds of things and help people get to the money. That's all people we really want to do. But I thank you very much for spending some time with me today.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to go ahead and connect with you on LinkedIn, so just remember who I am. All right. So everybody have a great day, and thank you very much for spending your time with me.
It's a pleasure. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.